guys, SkiveWalker here. Today I'm going to be bringing you my mock draft for the NBA draft. I'm just going to be hitting on the first round. As in my personal opinion, I know there are some steals in the second round, but mostly second round picks are mainly for depth, and a lot of times they don't play, and a lot of times they get cut. But you do have those situations with like a Draymond Green type of player where he turns into a pretty good basketball player, but for the most part, the first round's basically it. So I'm going to keep it to the first round. I also am recording this right before I head to work on Wednesday morning. If you guys don't know, the draft is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, I believe, maybe even 8 o'clock. But tomorrow night is the draft. The Cleveland Cavaliers have the number 8 pick in the draft. But in my mock, there are a lot of trades, a lot of movement going on, as a lot of teams want to move down, a lot of teams want to move up. But I think the Cavaliers are going to make the biggest splash tomorrow night. I think going into Friday morning here in Cleveland, we're going to see a completely different team to the point where I don't think LeBron James is going to leave. Now, me and the Fett were talking. I was thinking throughout the playoffs that since the Cavs were struggling, I figured for sure LeBron James would be gone. But before I get into the draft, I want to talk about this a little bit, why I think LeBron James is going to stay here, why I think it's smarter for him to stay here. First and foremost, he's not going to Boston. He's not going to a town that's been his rival for his entire career, basically. So he's not going to be going to Boston. I don't believe he's going to go to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is just a little bit too young. Him and Ben Simmons basically play the same kind of basketball style, so they can't really spread the floor a whole lot. I mean, LeBron can hit a three just fine. Ben Simmons, on the other hand, not a very good three-point shooter, so I don't think they spread the floor all that great for him. I think they're a little bit too young. I think if it was 4 years down the road and LeBron was still 33, I think that would be a very lethal trio with Embiid and Ben Simmons and LeBron James there. And even possibly Michael Fultz. Just depending on how he goes through his progressions and see how he comes along as he ages and gets used to the league, as he didn't play at all this year. But so I don't think Philadelphia is an option. I think it really comes down to the Lakers and Cleveland. Considering LeBron does not want to go to Houston. And with LeBron not wanting to go to Houston, the reports were that he just didn't like it as a city. Now, I personally love Texas. I love San Antonio. I think San Antonio was beautiful. Oh, my goodness, San Antonio was beautiful. Love, love, love that city. I think it's gorgeous with the riverfront right next to the Alamo. I mean, San Antonio's a very beautiful city. If you ever get a chance to go, highly, highly, highly recommend it. As Texas was, when I finally got to visit Texas for the first time, flying into Dallas and driving all the way down through, going to get to see Baylor and TCU and just going down throughout the state. It was a very beautiful state, very pretty, very good laws that I like personally, but I'll talk about that later, not today. But Texas is a very good state, so I don't know why LeBron would want to avoid Houston. Maybe it's more for his legacy type thing, but he said he didn't like the city. Personally, I've not been to Houston. I got to see Dallas a little bit. I got to go see Jerry's World. I did get to see San Antonio, and like I said, San Antonio is beautiful. So, but with him not wanting to go to Houston, if it would be a legacy thing, I can understand, because it would be him joining another super team, him ring chasing, which to me, I could care less if you win or not. Obviously, I want him to stay, so I guess I could care. But if he decided to go to Houston, I wouldn't hate him or judge him for ring chasing. I mean, anymore in today's media, rings mean everything, even though I think that's a load of crap. But I couldn't blame him one bit. But it doesn't sound like he's going to go to Houston, so that basically leaves it up to L.A. and Cleveland. And reports are starting to come out Paul George might stay in OKC and take the max there. And if that's the case, he's not going to Los Angeles. In my personal opinion, the last time a San Antonio Spurs star got a little mad, LaMarcus Aldridge, and demanded a trade, he's still in San Antonio. He had a career year, and he loves playing in San Antonio again. So I think Greg Popovich being the best coach in the league and just having a way with players and being a player's coach, I think he'll get everything settled with Kawhi Leonard. I don't think Kawhi Leonard's going to be going out to LA either. I think for sure Kawhi Leonard's going to be playing this year in San Antonio. So free agency, maybe he does go to LA. But I believe that Popovich is going to fix the situation where Kawhi Leonard wants to stay in Cleveland, or I wish he'd come to Cleveland, stay in San Antonio at least one more year, try to finish things out here with Pop. So I think, really, without those two guys going to Los Angeles, I think Cleveland's got a shot. And I think the only smart decision would be to stay here in Cleveland. The only other chance you'd have to beat Golden State would be have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Even then, I still don't think it's enough. If you went to Houston, you probably would have a good shot. But if you don't want to go to Houston, then you don't really have any realistic expectations to go. And again, if just Paul George went, why would LeBron want to go to Los Angeles and play out in the West with just Paul George? Where you have to play Golden State 4 times. Where you have to play Houston 4 times. Where you have to play the Spurs 4 times. Where you have to play the Grizzlies 4 times. Where you have to play OKC 4 times. You just have a harder conference, so why make it harder on yourself when you can stay in Cleveland, have possibly a better supporting cast here with the moves that Cleveland's probably going to be making, and you get to stay in the East, which your only competition is Boston and Philadelphia. And even then, Philadelphia's probably still another year away. It just all depends on what moves they make in free agency. So now that I got that out of the way, with me thinking LeBron James is staying in Cleveland for those reasons, this is kind of how I made my mock draft. So first up on the clock, the Phoenix Suns. I don't think there's even a question about it. They're taking center DeAndre Ayton from Arizona, as he's the best player in this draft. There's absolutely nothing this guy can't do. He can shoot, pass, rebound, he can defend the paint. He's a 7-footer, and he can drain threes. That's just absolutely sick. Where a guy can just be a great shot blocker and then also just roll out off of pick and roll and drain a 3 right in your face. So DeAndre Ayton is the obvious choice here. He's the best, like I said, he's the best player in the draft. He's going to Arizona. He went to Arizona, he's staying here in Phoenix. Again, another top city of mine. Loved Phoenix. Loved everything about Arizona. Anyways, going on to number 2. The Sacramento Kings, so they don't select anybody. They're trading their pick to the Los Angeles Clippers. The Kings have been rumored of wanting to get back, and with the Kings needing a lot of draft capital, I have the Kings trading with the Clippers to go back to 12 and 13. So we're going to get back to the Kings a little bit later in the draft. But the Los Angeles Clippers on the clock, I have them selecting power forward Marvin Bagley III out of Duke. He's got great athleticism. He can score from anywhere on the court, and he can create his own shot as a power forward. He's also a great offensive rebounder, solid free throw shooter. He does need to improve defensively. But if the Clippers can somehow keep DeAndre Jordan there, you can run with Austin Rivers, Marvin Bagley, DeAndre Jordan for the next 5 years. See how that trio works out. See if they can't get another big-time player there. Maybe if Marvin Bagley becomes a big old superstar. You have the workings there in Los Angeles with the Clippers. Number 3, the Atlanta Hawks take Luka Doncic from Slovenia. He's great in transition. He's an excellent passer, smart off-the-ball defender. But he does struggle to create his own shot. And with Atlanta poised to trade Dennis Schroeder, this will give them a big-time playmaker and a guy that can slide either at the 1 or the 2. Makes a lot of plays for his teammates. It's another foundational piece to build around. Considering this guy's been playing professional basketball since he was 16 years old over in Europe. So he's played at the highest competition over there. He's won championships. He's ready to be playing in the NBA. Probably the most NBA-ready player in this draft, I would say, just because of his professional experience over in Europe. Although it is a completely different league, but he has had that kind of pressure playing for a professional team. The number 4 pick in the draft belongs to the Memphis Grizzlies. However, they trade the pick to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And let me explain this trade here a little bit. Now, I don't really have exactly the right pieces, as there's going to be a lot of moving parts, but I think it's going to be a 3-team trade here. I think you're going to have the Memphis Grizzlies involved, the Cleveland Cavaliers involved, obviously, and the Charlotte Hornets involved. And we're going to get down to the Hornets here in a minute. But the Memphis Grizzlies still want to have a chance to compete. With Mike Conley getting hurt last year and signing that big-time contract, they want to be able to build around him and still have a chance at the playoffs and still want to have a chance to compete. And they don't want to go back down into the lottery for the next however many years it's going to take them to dig out of it. So with them wanting to still try to compete and go for a playoff spot, you can build around Mike Conley, you can build around Marc Gasol. But what if they got Kevin Love, where he can spread the floor? He doesn't have to guard the team's best center. He can roll out with the stretch forwards. He's still able to play with the lesser power forwards, while Marc Gasol there is the paint defender, the rim defender. He can guard the opposing team's best center power forward. And Marc Gasol also can step out and hit the 3. So it gives you a lot of spacing, a couple big men that can really do everything. Kevin Love more for shooting 3, creating his own shot in the post. And then also either one of these guys able to back down somebody and kick it out for three. So I think for the Grizzlies, it kind of makes sense to, for their direction that they want to go, take Kevin Love. I think they should probably tear down and rebuild everything, considering Memphis is it's a cool city. It's a very good sports town. Just give them a complete rebuild. Try to get rid of Mike Conley's contract. And I love Mike Conley. He's an Ohio State Buckeye, but I think he's got to come through those injuries a little bit. See what he's got this year. Maybe that's what Memphis wants to do before completely tearing it down. And they can always trade Kevin Love or Marc Gasol, Mike Conley at another time. So I think with Memphis trading this pick to Cleveland then would have the 4 pick and the 8 pick. But remember, there was a third team there with Charlotte. I think they trade the 8 pick that they had from the Nets to Charlotte and get Kemba Walker. Now, I personally love Kemba Walker. He's been linked to the Cavs since the trade deadline last year. I think he's the piece that the Cavs want to get as the point guard to move the offense, to be the motor of the offense. He's a great shot creator, great three-point shooter, just a good player that can play alongside LeBron James. So, just kind of some details that can go with this trade. You can send Kevin Love to Memphis. You can send I built this earlier. So you can send Kevin Love to Memphis. You're going to be sending Kyle Korver to Memphis. You'll send Cedi Osman, Jordan Clarkson to Charlotte. You're going to be getting back Chandler Parsons in that terrible contract, but I think it's worth it to be able to get Kemba Walker and be able to move up to this 4 pick for the selection. I'll tell you why here in a little bit. So I think you're going to be taking on Chandler Parsons, either Michael Kidd-Gilchrist or Marvin Williams, who's got 3 years left on their deal apiece, and both are worth $13 million, so another bad contract. So we're going to be taking on 2 bad contracts, which kind of hurts a little bit, but you're getting Kemba Walker and the 4 pick in the draft. To me, I think that's worth it to be able to keep LeBron James, and it gives you some more depth that you have to build around. You can have Marvin Williams start at the 4 as he does hit the 3 pretty decently, and then you still have our boy Larry Nance Jr. coming off the bench, or even starting, either way, whichever the way they want to run it. But it gives you some options, and maybe Chandler Parsons coming off the bench, being LeBron's backup, makes him not as likely to get hurt. Maybe he plays a little bit better. Maybe all he needs is a change of scenery to go back to the Parsons of old. So let's see what happens. But I think this trade works out for all 3 teams. Charlotte kind of wants to rebuild a little bit. It also gives them another lottery pick, so they'll have picks 8 and 11. Jordan Clarkson's a guard that they can build around. Cedi Osman's another wing player they can build around, as well as 2 other draft picks that they have. And I would not be surprised if they trade, they trade Dwight Howard, gets them another pick, gets them another building block. That way they can have a very good foundation for when they do rebuild this down in Charlotte, because it's only a matter of time before it happens. So at the 4 pick, your Cleveland Cavaliers select my favorite player in the draft, power forward Jaren Jackson Jr. And what's great about Jaren Jackson Jr. from Michigan State, he can play the power forward, he can play the center. He's a lockdown defender, something the Cavs desperately need down in the paint. He's very agile. He's a great free throw shooter for his size. He doesn't create his own offense, but when you have LeBron James and Kemba Walker there, you don't need to. You have 2 guys who can create it for you. You can roll off screens. You can roll off ball screens. You have a lot of different options to get yourself open, and you're a 7-footer. You can just shoot over everybody. He can guard any position on the court. Yes, a 7-footer that's a power forward / center that can guard point guards at the top of the paint. He's starting to be able to shoot the 3 ball well in college. This guy makes the most sense for Cleveland. Gives them a big body down in the paint. Here's your starting power forward / center. You could even run Jaren Jackson with Marvin Williams or Larry Nance with Marvin Williams. You have a very good paint presence finally, and also a guy that doesn't clog up the paint on offense, can spread the floor out for Kemba and LeBron. I think this pick would be huge for them, and also being able to have somebody that Golden State just can't stop. Jaren Jackson's actually tall enough to stay with Kevin Durant, and obviously Kevin Durant's the second best player in the league. A rookie's not going to stop him. But if you give him that size and just be able to stay in front of him, makes it harder for KD. The way to stop KD is he's going to get his points, make him inefficient. Moving on, the number 5 pick in the draft, the Dallas Mavericks select center Mohamed Bamba from Texas. He's going to be the longest player in the NBA with a 7'9" wingspan. He's a good free throw shooter. He can shoot the 3. He can defend everybody, but he does need to add a little bit of weight. But it helps start the rebuild down there in Dallas. Gives them a big-time foundational piece in the paint to build around. Number 6, the Orlando Magic select point guard Trae Young. Is he the next Steph Curry or is he the next Mike Bibby? Leave it up to you. I think this guy has the potential to be very good. He does pass better than Curry and he's a good ball handler, but everybody knows him for the three-point ball. Number 7, the Chicago Bulls select small forward Michael Porter Jr. He falls down on the boards a little bit because of his back injury history with the back surgery. His hip was hurting him going through some workouts. Hurts his draft stock a little bit because he is a little bit of a risk, but if he falls to Chicago here, I don't see him falling any farther than this because he has great size. He plays like KD, but again, is that back surgery and that back going to hurt him in the long run? We'll see what happens. Number 8, like I said, the Cavs traded the pick to the Charlotte Hornets, and they get their point guard of the future, Colin Sexton. Great ball handler, goes to the paint with authority. He's a solid free throw shooter. He's very confident. He doesn't have the best court vision, but he does have a lot of potential, and it's a guy that they can start their build around with him and Frank Kaminsky and another player that they're going to take later on. Number 9, the New York Knicks select small forward Kevin Knox from Kentucky. He's long, he can play the 4 if needed to, and he can guard it well, or he can play it well. He can shoot from anywhere on the court. He does need to improve his defense and rebounding, as those are his 2 biggest weaknesses in his game. Number 10, the 76ers get power forward Wendell Carter Jr., a big-time player that falls in the draft. He's strong, explosive, he can shoot the 3. He's a little slow, and he was struggling in a pick-and-roll game. But in Philly, it's another guy who can stretch the floor for Ben Simmons. Another guy for Joel Embiid to kick the ball out to at the three-point line. Perfect fit for Philly. Number 11, the Charlotte Hornets again, taking shooting guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from Kentucky. You can say, well, didn't they just take a point guard? Yes, but this guy's about 6'6". He can play the 2. He's very crafty. He split screens well. He's crafty around the rim. He's a good passer. He can become a great defender. He's improving his shot. If you put Shai Alexander and Sexton next to each other in the backcourt in Charlotte, that's something they could build on. That is something where in 5 years, maybe they become great players and you're just like, wow, they have 2 great backcourt guys and a pretty solid stretch 3 guy with Frank Kaminsky. That's a good foundation that they could build around. Going to picks number 12 and 13. Again, the Clippers traded him to the Sacramento Kings in my mock draft. So I have them taking shooting guard Lonnie Walker at 12 and small forward Michael Bridges at number 13. So you have Lonnie Walker from Miami, small forward Michael Bridges from Villanova coming off the board, just fitting some needs for the Clippers. Lonnie Walker more of a depth guy for Austin Rivers, can play alongside Austin Rivers, and Michael Bridges giving him a solid starting small forward. 14, I have the Denver Nuggets selecting Miles Bridges, not Michael Bridges, Miles Bridges from Michigan State. 15, the Washington Wizards taking small forward Zana Musa from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Just another guy that you fit alongside of them. I know they have Michael Porter. You push one of them to the 4, probably Musa over to the 4. Gives you another good player down there in Washington. Number 16, the Phoenix Suns, I have them taking small forward Zaire Smith from Texas Tech. Guy who can play the 2 or the 3, but with Devin Booker at the 2, need a guy to play the 3, and Zaire Smith fits that bill. As the best player available, basically. Number 17, the Milwaukee Bucks, taking point guard Jerome Robinson from Boston College. Number 18, the San Antonio Spurs, taking shooting guard Kevin Huerter from Maryland. The Spurs getting a lethal three-point shooter for that squad. 19, Atlanta Hawks, taking power forward Robert Williams from Texas A&M. Number 20, the Minnesota Timberwolves, taking point guard Elie Okobo from France, giving them good depth behind their point guard that they have there now. Good ball player. Name is escaping me right now, and I don't want to take the time to... Well, I would take the time, but I don't have a whole lot more time before I have to head to work, so can't really look up his name, unfortunately, so I apologize for that. But he is a good point guard over there in Minnesota. I'm sure I'll pull up his name. I can see his face now. But number 21, the Utah Jazz, taking point guard Aaron Holiday from UCLA. Number 22, the Chicago Bulls are taking center Mitchell Robinson from Western Kentucky. Number 23, the Indiana Pacers select a guy from the Ohio State University, a lethal three-point shooter, a guy who carried Ohio State on his back this year, small forward Keita Bates-Diop. Gives them another wing player to play alongside Oladipo. Just gives them another weapon. Number 24, the Portland Trail Blazers take small forward Jacob Evans from Cincinnati. This pick from the Lakers is a little bit of a stretch, but everybody knows the Lakers are all about their controversies and being in the media. So at number 25, I have the Lakers taking Grayson Allen from Duke. Just another guy to put in the limelight that has been in the limelight for all the wrong reasons at Duke, but overall is a decent basketball player and can play over there in LA. Number 26, the 76ers again in this draft, taking point guard DeAnthony Melton from USC. More depth at the point guard position for them, possibly turning into a starter. Number 27, the Boston Celtics select shooting guard Josh Okogie from Georgia Tech. At 28, the Golden State Warriors select shooting guard Bruce Brown from Miami. 29, the Brooklyn Nets select small forward Melvin Frazier. And at number 30, one more trade. One more trade. The Cavaliers want to get back into the first round. You're not trading with Boston. You're not trading with Brooklyn. You're not trading with Golden State. You're trading with the Atlanta Hawks to take point guard Dante DiVincenzo from Villanova, a good backup point guard for Kemba Walker, some guy who can learn and has time to develop into a good player that we could use in the future, and another player that can play alongside Kemba Walker. So that is my mock draft. My projected starting five for the Cavaliers this year is going to run like this: Kemba Walker, Rodney Hood, LeBron James. Starting at the power forward, the number 4 pick in the draft, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Tristan Thompson at center. However, as much as I love Jaren Jackson, and I would love the Cavs to keep him, I also would not be surprised if they take Jaren Jackson and trade him to Oklahoma City for Paul George. And then you can have Kemba Walker, Rodney Hood, LeBron James, Paul George, and Tristan Thompson as your starting five. And again, either way you go, I think it's great. I think in the long run, Jaren Jackson has more upside for you, because he can, like I said, he can guard the paint, he can shoot the three, but you can't really argue with getting Paul George either. And if you can have a trio of Kemba, Paul George, and LeBron for the next 5 years of LeBron's career, why would LeBron go anywhere else when you have your only competition in the East is Boston and Philly? And if you've got Kemba Walker and Paul George, and if Ty Lue ever plays Rodney Hood, or we can actually get a good coach over here in Cleveland, Rodney Hood will be used correctly. You have 3-4 guys on the court who can create their own shot, and then you just kind of intermix Tristan and Larry Nance Jr. and just roll it from there. Or you can even trade Tristan Thompson to have Larry Nance start at the center and run with a very small lineup. But either way, guys, that was my mock draft. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. As you guys know, we already appreciate that and appreciate all the feedback that we get. So please, let us know what your thoughts. What do you think the Cavs are going to do this draft season? Tomorrow night, this weekend. What do you think they're going to do? What is your favorite team going to do? If you're not a Cavs fan, what is your favorite team going to do, and what do you want them to do? Let me know. Let me know if I'm crazy for this mock draft. Let me know if you think I'm accurate in this. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your feedback. Let me interact with you on Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, and everything. All of our social medias I'll have in the description below. I'll have links to them as well. Other than that, guys, that's all I got for you today. SkiveWalker signing off.